What's up YouTube? Welcome to the balaclava sewing tutorial. This is my laboratory, aka my room. Don't look at that, it's messy over there. So this is gonna be your full-length tutorial on how to actually sew the balaclava together. If you didn't see the previous video already that taught you how to do the blanket stitch and straight stitch, those are what we're gonna be using in this tutorial, so I recommend you check that out. If you haven't downloaded it already, the template for the balaclava will be linked in my bio, along with all of the materials I used, if you need to buy anything. Now let's get started. So this is going to be everything you need to get started. A pair of scissors, some polyester thread to just stretch with the material better, some embroidery floss. Usually you're going to use the same color as your material. For this tutorial, I'm going to use a contrast stitch just so you can see it better. A wider-eyed needle that you can use for normal stitching and for the embroidery floss. And then you need some way of marking your fabric, a water-soluble pen like this, Sharpies work too, or some tailor's chalk. Then optional tools, I like to use a rotary cutter, just makes cutting out the template easier. A designated pair of thread snips. You can also use scissors for the same thing. Last but not least, we're gonna have our material. I'm using fleece for this. It's just easier to use fleece as a beginner. It's super easy material to work with. Now on your material, there will always be a right side and a wrong side. Whenever I reference the right side in the video, that is going to be the side that is facing outward that people are going to see. The wrong side is going to be the inside of the fabric, which is where we are going to start all of our stitches, and you will not be able to see the inside. So again, the wrong side is the inside, the right side is the outside that you want people to see. First and foremost, when cutting your pattern out of your fabric, we want to make sure the DOGS line is pointing in the same direction that our fabric stretches, and the grain line will be perpendicular to that. Now grab your front mask piece and place it right side up on your table. Then we're going to grab our right side panel, place it right side up next to that, then flip it over so it's facing right side to right side against the lower mask. Then we're going to sew a straight stitch along this bottom edge until you reach the corner of the mask piece. It should look something like this. Then you can unfold that, and we're going to grab our left side panel now, place it right side up. Then again, we're going to flip that over so it's right side against our mask piece and stitch along the edge. It'll look something like this, identical to the other side. If we unfold that, we can start to see the shape of the front of our mask. Now we're just going to pull that mask down out of the way to show off the side panels, and we're going to grab our template once more, line it up with the edges, and make a mark at the triangles along the edge of the hood. These marks are going to show us the attachment points for our front mask piece. Now we can fold our mask back out, and we are going to tack down the edges here. So fold under a 1 centimeter seam allowance and just tie a quick knot at the end to keep it in place. I lost the footage for this bottom knot, but I'll show you how to do this top one. Start by folding under a 1 centimeter seam allowance and then aligning the top edge with the mark you just made from your template. Then we're going to thread a needle and come in from the back side, less than 1 centimeter away from the edge, and start it just like you would a straight stitch. And then we're just going to loop back through that same hole about 3 times, and then tie off a knot. You're going to do this at the top and bottom corner of both the right side and left side of the mask. And these don't have to be perfect, they're just going to temporarily hold our mask in place. Now we're going to grab our final piece, which is the top panel, and we are going to lay it right side to right side against the right side panel. We are going to sew a straight stitch between the top panel and the side panel, starting at the bottom corner all the way to the end of the hood. So follow the shape of your hood panel all the way through, connecting the top and hood panels. As you're doing your straight stitch, once you get to the point where we tacked the mask onto the side panel, we just want to make sure we are sewing through all 3 layers of fabric. So that will be the top panel, the mask panel, and the side panel. Then just continue sewing normally at a 1 centimeter seam allowance all the way around the top of the hood. It should look something like this, all the way around. Now, the final step in the construction is to do the other side. So we're going to take our top panel, right side to right side, and match it along the left edge now. Again, sewing with a straight stitch at a 1 centimeter seam allowance, all the way along the edge, around the top of the hood. When you're finished, you should have something that looks like this, that is identical to the other side. At this point, we can flip our mask inside out, and we will see the actual construction of the mask. We've actually finished it. You can try the mask on, make sure it fits, see if you need to make any adjustments to the template or anything, but that is the final construction on the mask. Depending on the material you have, and if the edges fray, you can even leave it like this if you like the fit, but we're not going to do that. From here on out, we are no longer doing straight stitches, we are going to switch to the embroidery blanket stitch. Now prepare your needle and thread, just like you were shown in the previous tutorial video, and then we are going to start our blanket stitch on the right panel in the top left corner of the mask. You are then going to anchor your blanket stitch, just like shown in the tutorial video, and continue blanket stitching along the top edge of the face mask, remembering to move forward 1 centimeter with each stitch and staying 1 centimeter from the edge with each stitch. Once you get about 5 or 6 stitches through, you'll start to see it take shape. The way we're going to finish this is a little bit different than in the tutorial. For our last blanket stitch, we want to go all the way through to the inside of the mask and then poke back out at the edge of the seam allowance on the side panel, still continuing the blanket stitch. Then we are going to bring our needle back down through the hole we just came up through, so you'll end up on the inside of the mask, and then flip it inside out. You will have a little loop there that you can tie your string off on. In the end, you should have something like this, where the stitches stretch with the fabric, but still finish up that edge nicely. Now we basically just repeat this process for every raw edge. Starting next at the bottom edge of the mask, prep your needle and thread, and we are going to start at the corner towards the back of the mask. Always starting with our needle on the inside of the mask, we are going to anchor the blanket stitch just like shown in the tutorial, and continue the blanket stitch all the way along the edge. Now remember, just like last time, when we get to our last stitch, we want to go through all layers of fabric, still continuing the blanket stitch, but anchoring the mask to the side panel, then going back through the hole we came out of, flipping it inside out, and tying off your knot. Your mask should look like this now, with those stitches covering up the raw edges. Now you're going to flip your mask and do the same thing on the other side, starting in the back left corner. Unfortunately, I lost all the footage of me doing the hem at the bottom, but it is the exact same process as doing the edge of the hood, so I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Starting on the inside, you can flip your mask down to reveal the last raw edge, which is the inside of your hood. We are going to fold over a 1 centimeter seam allowance towards the inside of the hood. Then thread your needle again, and we are going to anchor our blanket stitch just like we were shown in the tutorial, and continue blanket stitching at a 1 centimeter seam allowance all the way around the edge of the mask. After about 4 or 5 stitches, you'll start to see it take shape. Now, where you get to the point where the side panel is sewn together with the top panel, you're going to have this extra seam allowance that you want to fold over to the left towards the top panel, and then again fold over your centimeter seam allowance towards the inside of the hood, and put a stitch through all layers of fabric to sandwich that seam nicely. Once you get to where the other side panel meets the top panel, you're going to have to do the same thing again, folding the seam allowance towards the top panel, and then folding over your 1 centimeter seam allowance. Continue doing your blanket stitch all the way to the end, and then finish it off with the anchor shown to you in the tutorial video. Now the final edge for you guys to do is just the bottom hem that goes around your neck. Again, it's the same exact process and same exact anchors as the loop around your face. I do apologize again that I lost the footage, but it's pretty straightforward, and just like that, you have a complete mask.